or computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
All right, hello. Just giving some people some time to get in. And we will... I'm going to try and include chat where possible. But I'm also going to try and ignore chat for times as well. I want to kind of, go through kind of levels and thought process and planning. Maybe kind of most helpfully, you'll be able to kind of follow along with this, depending on where you're watching. But it might be helpful because I'm going to be away for next week, so I'm going to be a little less active in terms of updates, etc. So really the plan is to kind of establish some areas of interest, thought process, etc. now, and then see how we move into next week, really. That'd be the plan. All right, we'll run through the list. I'll pull up now so you guys can see it in a second. I'm going to make a separate list for this as well. What do I want to call this? I don't want to call this list. I just call it by the dip. Let's just go with that. Right, okay. So we'll be doing a little bit of cross-referencing here as well, between Renko and Candlestick, and we'll see What happens? Is it true you're retiring after the next rally? No, I'm greedy. super greedy. Can we get some lo-fi? Can you not hear that? Like it's already playing. Is that should be audible, right? Can hear it fine? All right, fine. All right, I wanted to do an education video on this, but I don't know how likely it is that I'm gonna be able to get that done. So one of the kind of like discussion points right now is like what does a pullback look like for us? And what does this rally look like in terms of where it goes to and the structure of it in that? So we've got like two outcomes we'll be thinking about during this, and I've just got to seek on this for a second again while I get fucking shit sorted here. Goodness me, what a pain this is. Thank God I did this live, huh? Alright, fine, that's killed. Okay. Alright, we're back. Yeah, so what I was saying is, we need to determine what the structure of this is going to look like. And, I was kind of tweeted before about, do we basically get this move here, or do we get this kind of friendlier move? That's really the two thought processes right now. So do we get the super aggressive run, in which case we need to plan for this, or do we get the pullback run and we need to plan for this? So there's going to be kind of like two trains of thought here. And we'll see how that develops as we go, and I'll expand more on that thought process. So for BTC, really, the only area that I'm really interested in is back here, kind of at the 18.8s, 18.7s. That's really the area I'm interested in. I'm not too interested in anything prior. I think if you're looking for a level, I would look around 19.6. If we're like super aggressive in the pullback. Otherwise, I'd be looking down towards this 18.7 region. So that's really the pullback, 10% pullback, and then and then move in over a couple of days would be nice. Need to pull this RSI back down from the heavens, and hopefully continuation from there. Now, the aggressive pullback, if we get it to here, is fine. Like, it will do the job, but it's not the one. Like, that's the one. This one's slightly deeper, so I'm going to be looking around 18.7 still, as per the comments in the write-up in the portfolio bit yesterday. So that's the move I'm looking for on BTC. I'm not going to really set anything else on BTC there, because that's relatively easy to keep a handle on, so I'm not going to get into too much on that side. We'll take a look at Ape as well, and we're going to like measure some distances in this as well to some of the regions. But what we're going to look at kind of firstly is we're going to look at areas that catch our eye immediately when we're looking at the higher time frames. So, for Ape, we'd immediately get kind of drawn to this region here. And then we're going to think about distances down and the potential of getting there. So for Ape, this would be 18% sell-off, which would be kind of in line with BTC's 11%. You know, if BTC pulls back 10, 11%, I'd expect alts to complete this distance. So I think this would be a perfectly kind of, you know, valid area to look for on Ape, especially with the way this daily is going to close today. You know, this isn't a great look on the daily or the higher time frames for Ape through here. Maybe one more push up. But pullback-wise, we're looking for this move down here. So the 420s, nice and easy to remember. And Ape is something that I would be interested in taking a trade on. So map that in there. We're going to add that to the buy the dip. And we'll set an alert on Ape. We'll set an alert slightly higher. We'll set an alert around 440. And we'll take a look at it if it comes back down to that 440 lower. Can I just select it from here? Yeah, here we go. Okay. So we'll just alert that. We'll keep it super messy for now. Atom is also next on the list, and you can see I've already started kind of like thinking about Atom in terms of mapping out the distances. The obvious one is back down here, the 1050s. You know, this is the obvious level, and again, kind of falls in the boundaries of that 8 pullback around the 17-18% mark. And so this would be the area that I would be keen on. When it comes to other levels for Atom, I'm not really sure there's much in the way that we'd be overly interested in prior to that level. Maybe 1140s. Based on the former lows, the bounces through here as well. So maybe the 1140s would be a slightly tamer pullback at 10% without getting the full 17. I think that 1140s probably makes sense to put the alert on for, and then check back in if we're getting back there. Why are you not accounting for a scenario where it pulls back deeper than everybody expects? And somebody else asked the question about this. No version 3, where's the fake out? And we keep trending down. So again, I'm gonna take the stance here that when the RSI is extended to the highest level that it's extended to in the past 4 years, that's a relatively strong signal for me to try and join that momentum versus battling against it. And the very easy answer to kind of all of that is I'm gonna first put myself forwards for the scenario in which the pullback is the opportunity in order to buy into the momentum that we've seen. And all of the levels that I'm looking at buying should be the levels that are holding. And if they're not holding, then something is probably wrong. So if BTC fails to hold 18.7, 18.5 zone, something is wrong because that form of support is now failing. Same with Atom. You know, any of these big range breakouts that we fall back into, something's wrong. I think if you also take a look at the higher time frame picture for the majority of these alts for BTC, the higher time frames, the weekly is still in a great position. So we've got some charts that are still kind of locked up in really, really good positions on the higher time frame, and I just don't think it's worth the battle to fight against it. So I'm not going to. So, you know, just to kind of finish that piece off in terms of the summary, you know, the weekly RSI is still here. You're on the back of a potential divergence setup with a slowdown on the awesome oscillator. The awesome oscillator hasn't yet crossed. You're seeing the strongest momentum that you've seen in 4 years on the daily. To me, like, you absolutely have to plan to buy when the correction comes. And we'll address that if the levels are failing. That's it. That's all we can do. And is any of this spot? Yeah, so any of this could absolutely be taken as kind of like a spot play. I have my favorites in terms of what I would select as spot plays. But yeah, I think any of these kind of pullbacks into these levels, you could take as spot plays, because if it happens that way, again, when we're thinking about the weekly setup, we're expecting continuation for at least, probably 4 weeks. So, it's absolutely fine. Are you thinking about this as move as an echo bubble or the beginning of a macro bull run? I don't really like talking about whether or not this is a macro bull run or not, or anything like that at this point in time. For me, the actual bull run discussions and conversation can take place above here. So if we're trading above 30k, then I think we can have those conversations. I don't think I can have those conversations with you down here. I may be more prepared to discuss if BTC does this and creates a structure where it has the higher high and the higher low and then begins to rally. And I'm quite happy to buy spot here, obviously well underneath the 30,000 region in this scenario. But this, I think you can only really have the conversations once this has been overcome. From my perspective, I talking about a macro bull run on the back of 1 week of green is a very dangerous thing to be doing. Talking about the opportunity of buying dips for a potential run higher is fine. Speaking, kind of bull run language, I don't think is the most sensible option. I think you historically you've been punished way too many times for that thought process. Some of the tweets, if you're a bear that's looking for engagement on Twitter, just go and screenshot every tweet that you see right now on the feed. Because some of the shit that I've seen is wild in the way that people are taking this as, the start of the bull. Very aggressive rally. BTC to, 2x off the lows. Fine. Can see it. Can see that situation. Let's carry on with the thought process here. So we've done Ape. We've done Atom. So we'll green Atom. We'll add Atom as well because I really like Atom. So that will fall in there. I think AVAX is another interesting one. Again, because of the structure of the weekly down here, I think AVAX is a particularly interesting one. The other thing that's quite nice about AVAX is you don't really have you don't really have any resistance in the way, right? So that's also quite nice. So we'll just stick these levels on for now on the weekly because this makes sense here. Very strong weekly. We even kept the div between the last 2 legs of this on AVAX as well. And looks as though the weekly is going to close above this 1590. That would be an important zone. So the weekly we'd really like to see close above this 1590 region here. And then I'm guessing it's just going to equate to this is kind of the region that we'd be looking for pullbacks into. And I think that would be fair. Some of these lower time frame wicks go a little bit lower down to the 1460s, 1470s. Let's take a look on the daily, see if there's any kind of clarity here. I mean, the tighter level on the daily is here. So what we'll do for AVAX is we'll say that anything that takes out this lower wick here would be of interest. Because we know that that would be falling into a weekly and a daily zone that would be important to us. And so that pullback into this zone here, I think, would be an interesting region. Wouldn't it be better to look for weekly to break market structure over 25k? Weekly MS isn't 25k. Weekly MS is 20.3k or some shit, or 21.3k. If you take the last weekly high, that's the one that's really important. The other problem that you have with that scenario, Tommy, is that because of the structure of BTC and the way that those candles make up the lows, it's one of those kind of like really aggressive run up areas. You know, if we saw this weekly setup on like the 5-minute chart, we would automatically be saying, okay, this high is going to get taken, this high is going to get taken, this high is going to get taken. Especially when you see a reaction like that, you'd say, okay, well, now they're going to run the stops here, they're going to run the stops here, and they're going to run the stops here. So, I think the problem with that scenario in terms of like the 25k run, I think this is your structure here. And so it's this level here that I want to see gone. And then I think it has the potential to run very aggressively against these levels. Now, if it takes your 25, let's say, and then pulls the correction, then fine, we can still look at being a buyer here for the higher low scenario. But I'm not going to wait until that. I'm going to plan for this now and then see if we get whichever play. Yeah, so what would be your trigger for... What would be your trigger that the scenario we have is the aggressive up instead of the pullback? So I think that a pullback comes, right? I think a pullback comes. I think the depth of the pullback will be the interesting part of whether or not we continue aggressively or not. So I think we'll get more answers to that question on the back of the first pullback. If the first pullback resets the 4-hour RSI at 50 and runs again, I don't think we get much more than that in terms of where we're going to dip to. So I'll start to look more aggressively for positioning based on the 4-hour RSI coming back to the 50 and rotating away again. If we lose the 50 here and we start to fall through, then I'd be looking for the daily 50. And at the daily 50, I'd be expecting more of this significant pullback down to a region like this. So the first pullback, I think, is going to tell us a lot. I think if the 4-hour holds the 50, then the aggression is going to continue. We're going to keep on making that push to the upside. If the 4-hour 50 fails, then I would be expecting the daily to come back down to the 50 and therefore a steeper pullback in this. Same for any market right now. So looking at like the knock-on effect of what the RSI is going to do based on the 4-hour, which we know is a very good time frame trending market, should be holding. And in aggressive trends, we would expect the 4-hour to be holding. And then we can turn to the daily to view from there. If the 4-hour holds on a pullback and then pushes, then the daily probably creates a div, and then we get a scenario where we see how long the div goes for, but we'll talk about that later. Has to be pushing away to enter upon first confirmation. How do you time that entry? There's no rush, right? Like, you've got like 16 hours to make a decision. The problem that people have when the RSI touches the 50 level is that they like freeze up and that they don't press the button. And then if price starts to move away, then they assume that they've missed it and they still don't press the green button. So the problem isn't in the fact that you've got like multiple hours to make a decision on pushing the button. You just need to see some sort of impulse and turning from the RSI away from the 50 level. Like, that's all you're looking for. It's a very simple kind of thought process. People just overcomplicate it in not being able to press the button. Right, let's carry on. So are there any more A coins that I want? No. AVAX, Atom, and Ape, I think, are the ones. I don't want BNB, so I'm not going to really take too much time to look at BNB. We've already discussed BTC. I don't want any of the C coins, except maybe CRV. Just because the weekly is so good here. Again, you just make like a simple argument, like, can I just enter CRV based on the based on the weekly trend line break. Can I just be a spot buyer on like one simple signal of impulse finally after grinding down at the lows for so long? RSI still in a great position. 3-day crossing 50. This is the first time in a year it's done that. Another great sign. You'd be targeting 190s. You know, this is the ultimate retest region that you'd want for CRV. So you'd be targeting here. You'd expect to make it up to here. So this looks like a pretty nailed on trade thought process for me. Doge and SHIB are already in Doge, so we're just going to be holding position, but we'll quickly review it. But we're simply going to hold position on Doge. There's going to be no changes there. Just give me better range breaks than this. All right, 72. What's that going to put us back from the high? 15 from current PA. 12. It feels like I can't do anything else but choose this. Choose this level. It's rejecting the current resistance region on the 4-hour. I'm going to have too many boxes on here soon. But it's rejecting the current region. We're going to get a weekly trendline breakout. We're going to have really good continuation perspective from a weekly and a 3-day chart. We've got breakout of momentum on the 3-day chart for the first time in 12 months. We've got very clear upside targets in terms of first resistance 140 and then second 190 if we break through this. This feels like a no-brainer trade here. Like, this just feels like if this pulls back into here and we get the 10%, this feels like it's a 2x. That's the target. It's a 2x target. Yeah. So we'll keep CRV very much in the list. Like, I really like this setup just because of the simplicity of it, and the signals from it are very, very good. And again, we'll continue with the bullish vibe. Doge pullback into 8 is perfect. So if this decides it wants to pull back, but I want this to leg up again. I want this to be trading up here before we get any pullbacks here. I think the hourly RSI is in a really good position, and I think I've already made my thoughts on Doge relatively well known. The weekly is one of the best higher time frame charts I think in crypto, just because of the fact that it already naturally has this higher low region here, so it just sets itself up for a far nicer position. It also means that the targets are a higher high at a minimum instead of down here, and so this isn't really like a true target. We'd like to continue rotating this to the upside. And then the monthly chart is also incredibly good looking. So Doge is, an easy winner of a chart. It's an easy trade setup. It's, got a good entry. Should be holding this now. Don't expect to see Doge trading below 8 cents again. If I'm to be correct in the thought process, I don't think we should be trading below here. I'd want to see a push up higher, and then I'd want to see a correction, and then just like grind it down and then rotate back around. Ideal, but nothing to overcomplicate about the Doge position. Resistance is up here. Higher time frames look very good still. The daily's not even overextended yet. The 3-day is wrapping around. The weekly is trying to get back above that 50 zone. It's a really good looking area. So we know Doge is on the list anyway. DYDX. I looked at this earlier. Like, this looks super good. I know the narrative is a bit scuffed now in terms of DEXs, given the kind of the stability in the exchange world. Setup looks good. Setup looks really good here. Like the fact the RSI has diverged these three lows. And these are three lower lows or two lower lows following this one. This is a really good looking chart. Yeah. Big unlock for February 12th. Yeah, so a month. This is a really good looking chart. Look at the 3-day as well. Daily's not overextended. It's like Doge. Hourly RSI just sitting there at 50 as well. They're probably going to pump this from here. 4 hour, not even pushed to the extreme yet. This is a very good looking chart, I think, on the higher time frames. To have such kind of like a nice cluster here. And again, you know, target regions, you're coming in anything that starts wicking into kind of the 230s plus. And especially even if you get the lower high structure, you know, 220s and above, you can be aggressive in terms of like taking profit here if you want to. You know, take 50% off at 220 and rotate back in if we're actually going to get a breakout here and trade into 370s. Very clean looking chart. Worst case scenario for DYDX obviously is just continuation of this. But definitely worth keeping an eye on this. It's a very interesting market. ENS already in. Pullback. Do I want to pull back on ENS? The chart's okay. I don't think I want to pull back on it though. New daily. Nice. EOS definitely don't give a shit about. ETH. Like, I think the ETH picture is one that's again is very clear in terms of why we should be interested in the bullish side of things here. This will be the first awesome oscillator crossover in 12 months. So this is just 12 months, literally to the day. 12 months of negative awesome oscillator price action. And this would be our first opportunity to crossover. And then viewing what the crossover looks like. You know, again, we know in bad conditions, crossovers tend to be very weak. So if we do this and we start failing, then big uh-oh. But this is I think a really good, just simple illustration of why we should continue to maintain a bullish bias on things when you've got charts that are about to cross over and about to break 50 levels for the first time in 12 months. I don't think there's much to say about ETH. It's probably one of the simpler exposure buys if you're looking for just kind of spot without fucking around too much. I think the ETH is probably the best choice that you'll make. In my opinion. I don't think there's any F coins I want. There's no G's. There's no H's, no I's, no J's, no K's. FXS to the bottom. Sorry, it's to the bottom. It's because I haven't it's because I haven't hit symbol again here to put everything back in. I'll do that now. Do I want to do that? Sometimes I get used to these being at the bottom, and I just tend to look down here for them now. Okay, let's add them to the list. I don't think it changes anything prior. FXS, very, very simple. 91% down from the highs. Great consolidation structure. Looks even better in terms of a consolidation on the monthly. 6 months longer. 7 months now of consolidating. Looking for the range breakout. Awesome oscillator about to cross over. RSI about to flip. Very good scenario. Very good look. Should do very well if BTC takes the aggressive route. Might do very well if BTC chooses to range as well. The more aggressive option would be to be a purchaser now in anticipation of a breakout, given the fact that we are pushing on the RSI and we're pushing with the awesome oscillator. The more conservative approach would be start taking position as soon as we start breaking out. What we're looking for here is pretty much like a very simple 2x on the position. There's not a lot here to stop FXS. The fact that we're breaking out of a 7-month range also gives it a lot of momentum and power. So we should be expecting a 2x, I think, for the returns on this, potentially higher depending on what happens. 7-month consolidation, very, very good. That's what we want to see. Yeah, Lux is also the bottom. Yeah, Lux isn't on Femex. Yeah, no liquidity to market buy on the way out. Market sell. Got a position in early on pullbacks. I think it's really a case of you're gonna have to. It's probably like a spot market, to be honest. It feels like a spot market versus anything else. I wouldn't want to get too crazy with perps on FXS for sure. Don't want Gala, don't want GMT, I've already gone through all these, right? JKs, Ls. LDO are fine, but like already like this, and so less enticed. Link, yes, very much so. I think it's a great looking chart. I think it has the potential to do really good things through here. Want to pull back to 6s. Not sure if I get it. It's approaching the midpoint of this huge range. Any market that's been in a range period like this for a significant period of time is automatically going to grab my attention, because the breakout potential is huge from it. So the fact that Link has just been stuck in this range for even longer than FXS, you know, we formed this range in May, so it's had an extra couple of months, or an extra month to FXS to form this. So I think this is a really, really interesting spot market for me. We've already done the pullback to the 640s, which is the first level that I would have talked about here, and that was the wick that we saw today. We've taken the highs here at 7. And slight resistance on the lower time frames as well. Where do I set a level for this? So is 6 just too aggressive here? We just set it at 640 again in the event that we get another pullback down here. The other thing that we do on Link is that this just doesn't materialize as a second push here towards the 740s, and instead it just starts this process. And we just do like this. And that's fine as well. Then we'll take the entry here. So if we get just the RSI kind of, you know, wrap around and weakness through here and continue chop and consolidation, then we'll take the play at the 50 level. Do you expect OP to go into price discovery? Your target is high. Yeah, my target is price discovery, right? It's fresh highs. I'm gonna set this at 664. I really want to be active on Link. I really want to be active here. And I'm slightly concerned about the fact we've already revisited the 640s. There's concern, obviously, about the aggressions of getting back down to the 6s. And therefore, the situation would mean that I would be looking for either a pullback post move to 720s back down here, or continue consolidation, in which case this alert should tag based on the consolidation. Will I get eaten by funding if I do these spot buys on perps? No, you'll be fine. You'll be fine, honestly. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, they're probably... The funding's probably not going to be too outrageous. There's probably still going to be a lot of doubters in here if we're getting these moves. Looks, I won't take position in, but can appreciate that the higher time frame chart looks very good through here. I won't be taking a position on this. You get above 20 and I think it just flies. This is the first resistance region obviously tapping into now. I think if it gets above 20 then it flies, but I won't be trading looks. Where's Link? I've got to make sure that that's in the list. It's a really important one. Magic we've discussed in quite a bit of depth, and I think it looks very, very good overall still. And again, another very strong range market. So another one that grabs the attention straight away. Good range market. Good breakout potential. Straight into the unlocks. Pump it just in time for me to sell it, please. But again, no real resistance here until the 250s, 260s. Another 7-month, 8-month consolidation cycle. Matic would like to play. Please. Yeah, like, what a shitter. What a shitter. Already kind of come back into this level, and even if I move it down, like, we've still tagged into it, wherever you want to put this. So let's stick it here, 94s. Same situation as Link, although the hourly, again, just looks as though it wants to rotate back up. 12 hours way too overextended to think about being a buyer here. So I think this is just the Link scenario. This is either it's a continuation of the consolidation and the chop above this level and we're just looking at 94s still, or it's the push higher and then we'll reassess. I like Matic. Do I like it as much as others? Maybe. It's a stronger structure. It's a far better weekly picture than a lot of other markets. Got to decide whether or not I prefer it to kind of the range bound structures, or whether or not this is the optimum play. LTC, I mean, I still think it's kind of like mid to upper 90s, and then I think this is the rejection zone. The weekly looks good. 3-day looks good. Daily looks good, obviously. Hourly looks great in terms of the RSI reset. Ultimate Oscillator is doing fine as well. You got the pullback into 86s. Got the hold to 80s. If you're looking for it, it's probably here still. You know, any movement up. and then push back lower, and here is the zone under 80s. Oh shit, no RV. Fuck. There's so much. Alright, 70s. 70s. No messing. That's the level. Yeah, that's the level. 70s. This is good as well. Like this consolidation region here, like just fucking pull this back down now. Pull this back down now. Give one tap into 69s for the meme. Pull this down. We're going. What was your target for Phil? Are you another one that's long based on Clark's tweet? Because I think he gave the target, right? I think the target is legit. It looks good. It's really good. Yeah, good shout, Degen. I appreciate that shout back to Arve as well. It's a really good one. Like, I've always kind of like talked about buying a lot more kind of DeFi stuff, and I think Arve, Sushi, CRV are all pretty high up on my list to be picking up. Yeah, Matic is 2x from the high, Arve is 10x. Yeah, but that's the incorrect logic. Right, that's like the incorrect logic because hovering bell. Because like you would have done the same with like XRP and stuff. Like in terms of like thinking about like bull market returns. Like actually like the complete opposite is probably true. Like Matic is only a 2x from its high, and therefore shows how strong Matic is. So the fact that it's sitting where it currently is in the midst of everything just shows the strength of Matic, and probably makes it a better candidate to be long on. That's kind of the only thing is I think it's probably more dangerous looking at the stuff that's been absolutely smoked, because then our thought process shifts to it's 10x down from the highs, therefore there's more potential upside. Whereas what happens if Matic just moves into price discovery? Like what happens if Matic goes to all-time highs? Because it's a stronger market. It's a better structure. It's contained the selling better. There's a reason for that. So, I don't know. It's just, that's why I kind of had the discussion kind of out loud about, well, what is the preferred option here? Is it the range-bound stuff that is looking like a breakout, or is it the stuff that's, better structure? Do IDX. Right, let's carry on with the list for a second. So Matic, we're going to leave as green. Nia, not interested. Ocean. This is, like, a lot of people are talking about this shit, right? The weekly closes here, it's good. It's really good. And I think it's maybe even a market that will show the way for many of the plays that we're looking at here. Because like this 40 cents target point is the level. This weekly breakout is the cleanest. Like everything on the lower time frames gets really choppy through this level here, and we have like multiple failed breaks of it as well. This one looks as though it's the one that's sticking. It's the one that spent the greatest length of time above so far in terms of like the origin of the breakout point. I think moves down to the 23s are the kind of the buying region if we're to get some sort of, you know, large sell-off. But I think the weekly is in a very, very good position. And so, you know, from just a simple weekly perspective, if this weekly closes here, then you're looking at buying anything that dips back into 24s and below, so 10% down. And I suspect that this is a, you know, again, this is a market that has the potential to do a minus 10% day relatively easily. So that's really what I'd be looking at through here. Does look like a really good chart though. It does look like a really good weekly chart. Again, add it to the list of, you know, kind of the FXS and what's the other one? Link. Yeah. Looking good. OP, yeah, targets highs. I mean, yeah, based on this weekly picture, price discovery. That's the easy one here. No worries, Wind. No worries at all. You take care. PYR is another one in terms of like range bound plays if you wanna keep an eye on it. Doing really well after the push out of the 320s. You know, you'd be looking towards the $5 anyway. Here is the natural point, and then if it breaks through there, then it's got a really good run up to the 8s. That's it. Are you waiting for a pullback on OP? I mean, today could have been it, but I think maybe there's some more left in that. Maybe today was the pullback. Failure to hold 164 would be an issue, and you would then expect a greater pullback. So I think we should be containing this level regardless. But, you know, any failure here, then that's definitely a kind of, you know, an interesting zone to be considering positioning below or on a reclaim back above and ascend. This move here was a good one. Was very quick in the recovery as well. Made itself to fresh highs pretty quickly. Has got the awesome oscillator divergence now between the highs, so could see a steeper pullback. Jesus. Is Rune just the fucking FIL and comp play? Ah, good. That's what we like. Do I care about Rune? No, I don't care about Rune enough to be a buyer. Yeah, like this level here is just, it's literally since the start of this chart. It's just dips down here. So the 4-hour diverges here at a guess, and then again pullbacks down into this region. 165s and below. J-Dub's been buying Link for months. Why? How do you trade with RSI and AO when everything goes up only and looks like bear divs? Well, I mean, I think probably the main thing has been in what you've kind of said. You kind of answered your own question. Like, everything looks like bear divs, but very rarely actually forms any bear divs. You know, lots of people talking about sushi bear divs. As an example, the 12-hour bear divs on sushi through here. And then sushi just pops higher. So whenever a market is very strong in momentum, you always think to yourself, the bear div's going to fail. Any potential bear div that I'm looking at is going to fail. It's the easiest thing you can do. So when you've got very strong conditions, you say to yourself, the divergence is going to fail. We're not going to form the divergence. We're going to push up higher. And therefore, I'm playing into that. I'm playing into that assumption. I'm going to take advantage of the long side. Now, when a divergence starts to form and you actually get concrete kind of lock-in of a divergence, and in order to do that, you would expect to see significant selling on the tail end of that, then you can begin to think about dip buying or joining in with the shorting, depending on your preference. Yeah, Walt with the jewel. I could not tell you the price of jewel. I couldn't tell you if it was a penny, if it was 10 cents, 25 cents. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. Yeah, Sol going again. We discussed this a little bit today in chat. You know, we said that if Sol looks at going again, it's going to get another 10% straight off, like easy, and it did. And then I think it pushes up towards the weekly zone, which is like a little bit higher for it. So it's around the 26s, 28s. So again, good juice in this through this region. Weekly is getting into the right zone, that's for sure. Yeah, sushi was for me the example to ignore divs from now on in strong trending markets. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Sushi is another one that's on the cards to be a purchaser. So let's SNX, let's go to first, because this is also so fucking juicy. Weekly setup is great. Weekly div between the last two legs as well. Awesome oscillator doing the ALCX divergence on steroids, continuing to reduce, and setup looks exceptionally good. Lower time frames, this is great as well because we're starting to pull back through here, which is perfect. And also the level here is really, really, really clean. So 4-hour dips below 2 is the level. This is the former resistance point here. So we're basically looking for this to just continue chopping, give us the next kind of 24 hours of chop, land here, get the entries in, and then hopefully send through here. We know the daily is already extended here pretty hard, and so there is obviously the potential for deeper pullbacks than this. But like I said, somewhere in this zone we would be hoping to hold. Ideal cases, and again, this is kind of another lesson when it comes to RSI, and many people will look at this RSI and worry about this in terms of pulling back and what it's going to look like. And the reality of this could be the 4-hour resets and holds the support level here at $2. It makes this push, and it pushes the RSI up here. And then what it does is it consolidates here. And so then it does this. So lots of people worry about kind of the position of the daily when they're looking for pullbacks without the thought process that actually, you know, this can reset on a lower time frame. Impulse again very strongly, extend the RSI further, and then consolidate from a fresh region. So this can still consolidate in a 20% range up here, and it can still pull back, but we're now significantly higher than when we first thought about the trade. And I really like SNX, as I mentioned when I originally took this trade. So we're definitely alerting on this. Tron. How much Tron are we buying? If this trend line breaks out here, Tron becomes super interesting. Because it's not just the trend line breakout, it's the reclaim of the level as well. So it's the reclaim of the level at mid-5s, and it's the trend line breakout, which makes it a really interesting setup chart. And we know that, once again, Justin is super open in communication. We know that he's active, that he's been throwing his money around again. And we know that Justin doesn't leave behind Tron when things start to run. So definitely one to keep an eye on. All right, and it's really just the weekly that matters. We'll talk about it more if this weekly breaks through. Let's go back to sushi. So sushi is still one of the more attractive higher time frame charts, I think, because we've got this. Because we've got this May consolidation again. So as you can see, I'm leaning very much towards these markets that have these significant kind of consolidation regions. And the consolidation regions are between pretty extreme kind of prices, but they're still quite clearly consolidation ranges. So you can see with sushi, we really start to flatten out, and we're going sideways for the first time for since the creation of sushi, basically. So we now have this extended sideways period of sushi. And this, for me, again, kind of makes a great looking higher time frame setup and a great spot play for the potential breakouts here. And I think sushi starts to look kind of even better when you narrow this down, and you can start to take here and you can start to take here. And so now what we've got is we've got these two fake outs at either points of the sushi chart here. We've got this failure to break out of the highs, and we've got this failure to break down on closing below the bottom of the range. Now, super greedy is coming back down to the ones. That's the super greedy one, because that's the weekly retest of the sticking point, which is just $1 flat. This then starts to look a little bit different. And we're basically in the SNX scenario, where we're looking for the pullback here of the 4-hour RSI, coming back down towards the 50 level somewhere. We already know the overextension on the higher time frames. Daily still looks relatively decent through here. 110s if we get the 10%er, I think is where the alert's going to go. 113s will stick the alert. We're not going to be too fussy about that, but I think probably this 110 zone is the sweet spot. If we just draw another line across here, we can start to see the interaction of the 110. So you can see here rejection, support, rejection, support, rejections, supports, breakdowns. So a good point for sushi. So I think 110s is kind of the zone. $1 is the super greed region, back down to the bottom of the range, basically. And again, we'll keep an eye on the consolidation structure here based on the 4-hour as well, to see whether or not we have a longer consolidation period that brings down the 4-hour RSI and gives us the ability to play into some more upside in the short term. Yes, sushi, please. Market started off pretty well in terms of like the red side as well. Pretty good sign, I think, overall up here. Mana especially looks pretty juicy again. Honestly, I think best situation is pulling back now. Like I really would like to get the pullback from this region. Yeah, listen, if we're gonna stream now with the content on getting pullbacks, then yeah, let's just do it now, right? Let's just get it out of the way. Let's just hit the downside hard. The other thing is, I think, you know, if we pull back today and tomorrow, today being Sunday and tomorrow being Monday, that's a really good sign for the indexes on Tuesday, because we know the indexes are looking at breaking out. And so that sets us up really nicely. You know, if we get the correction today, tomorrow, and then that gives us kind of, you know, this pullback and correction and dip that we've seen, and then the indexes then begin their breakout and crypto follows up, I think really good scenario. Yeah, Sol taking the highs here and then rejecting hard again. Yeah, I think it's probably like mini 4-hour div time and then SNX going as well. Listen, we'll just stay streaming. We'll stay streaming. Viber, what are you doing trading BCH, man? What's going on? Oh, GCR's been talking about BCH? Alright. Nice 4-hour bear div across the highs. Good sweep of everything up here. God, I have not looked at a BCH chart in the longest time. Yeah, good weekly structure. Good weekly structure. I guess you'd be targeting 175s, 180s. I don't love BCH. I love BSV. Not BCH. Uni's clean on the weekly as well. It's got a similar like ETH structure to Uni, with the low and then maintaining the high. That's kind of the ETH play. Get another market that's been, you know, shafted. Monthly looks good. Hourly, this is what you want. You want these hourlies lost. You want this RSI lost here, because it then paves the way for this bigger pullback. Did we cover Uni already, or is this just a level I drew pre? 636, anything under 640 is a good dip. Are you vaping? Nah. It's an inhaler for my asthma. Just take it on a regular interval. Yeah, see? Nice long pull on that asthma inhaler. XRP not looking to buy. YFI not looking to buy. Woo. Yeah, that Woo move is a good one. I don't know where you're dip buying this though. Weekly is disgustingly nice. Everything feels too low. You know, like the retest here feels too low. Maybe 15.6. Try and sweep these out. I don't know though. It feels like I'm getting too wild with the targets for that one. already started the bounce on Metaverse. So small sell-off, it's fine. Just immediately run it back. Damn gas ovens. That's what it is. That's what it is, data. Can't doubt the science. Ada. 30s. I'm just moving back down here again. I think probably the important thing from my perspective as well is like everything I've kind of spoken about. I've been a little bit like, oh, we've already made that touch, or we've already got back down to that level. You know, like Link is an example of where I said that based on the price action that we've seen. You know, we've already come back into that level. So, like treating that as though it won't happen again. And if it does happen again, that it's somehow a bad thing. So I think just from my perspective, and then passing that on to you guys, it's an acknowledgement that even though I've mapped out 11, I said it's been tested already, or we've moved into that level, it doesn't mean that we can't go there again. It doesn't mean the market won't hold again should we get there. We've seen support levels with multiple tests. So it's not just a case of, you know, oh shit, this time we made it back down there again. It's bad. So even some of the levels that I've mapped out that we tested today on that aggressive pullback, I think are still, you know, areas that we should be looking at. I think the DeFi stuff is going to make the pullback first. Yeah, I think the sushis, the CRVs, the SNXs, I think they're going to be the first back at the regions of interest. I look at the 4 hour already for SNX. It's already one of the closest to this 50 level. So I think these are going to be the market's first back to areas of interest. And remember, pullbacks in markets like this tend to be hyper aggressive pullbacks. You know, the sort of shit that does minus 10%. So just be aware of that as well. That, you know, if you are in position and you know you entered today, yesterday, just be aware that things can get a little bit nasty during the pullbacks. Yeah, OP dumping into the zone. It's not particularly a good sign with the hourly div. With this setup here, it's not great. So I would expect this level to cave through. But again, it's a good market to keep an eye on, regardless of what I think will happen with the market. It's, you know, it's more important to just keep an eye on it and check in. Where we cut, I don't know where I cut this position. I don't know where I cut. I think I just hold. I think I've got enough distance here to not have to sweat it too much. 23%. So I would like to try and hold. And then like with Doge. Like Doge is one of the more aggressive sellers again today. Like Doge again is just like back here. So again, would like to hold. Don't really see any reason to drop off this. I could bring this shit back down here. Lose the hourly in the next 17 minutes on the RSI. Bam. Send it. Alright, we'll do final questions and then I'll wrap up. Yeah, we did. We covered ape. We covered everything. We pretty much gone through alphabetically. So we covered off a lot of things. Man, good job on the summary, because I did take regular pauses, and that is with you in mind, but yeah, nice job on that, because there's been a lot going on. This is like when you used to do a hand. Well, I say used to, referring to my past. This is like when you do, maybe for some of you, like a handover at work when you're going away. And you do a handover to be like, here's the shit that I've got to do. But for me, it's here's the levels I'm interested in, and here's a nicely presented PDF with all of the details in. I believe I know this answer, you do already. But you do not set any limits for longs, even in the target zones. Yeah, not a chance. Not a chance. In 2023, you have multiple ways of checking the price at any time of the day. And therefore, I do not ever feel the need to set limit bids. I can be anywhere and quickly check or purchase crypto. Why don't you set longs in the target area? Because this is crypto. And the majority of times, this is what happens to you, right? You set up a nice position here. You're like, here's my level. Here's what I'm going to buy. I'm going to have a stop loss here. We'll run it to fresh highs. Great trade. Looks fantastic. And price does this. And not only does price usually do that, price usually fills, stops, rallies. Like, it's literally in the same candle. And so, like I said, I have zero need to set any bids. I check the prices more than enough for the length of time of trades that I want to take from these regions to be able to be a buyer at some point during a correction down towards the levels that I like. I don't mind if prices come back down here and done this, and then I have to buy here because I didn't check the market for 24 hours. Impossible. But I didn't check the market for 24 hours and we now started moving away. It's fine. I'll buy here. All right, stop here. You trade from your phone? Yeah, if I need to, you know. Please tell us you did 10k to 100k the past week. No, I didn't. I did, I think 12.5k to 97 maybe, somewhere around there. But yeah, nothing too wild. It 12 to 97 in a week. Yeah, it was 12.5 to 97 in just over 48 hours. So I really started playing around on Wednesday, and I think by Friday it was there. So yep, cross leverage perps. Yeah, exactly. First time in the stream, join the Haven today. Welcome. This content is so nice. A pleasure. A pleasure. That's what we do. It's nice to see so many new faces as well. Yeah, it's really, really nice to see so many new faces over the past few days, and obviously conditions are good, but yeah, it's great to see chat as lively again after a quiet period of time. It's awesome. Yeah, you got so much free publicity on Twitter. Yeah, it's always it's a really hard thing, you know. It's like I hate the discussions of kind of the paid group process. You know, I hate those discussions because you know you can't win those discussions. So kind of collectively we kind of just ignore that side. It's very, very difficult though, you know, in terms of how long the Haven has been running. And you know, I think maybe I'm different in my thought process to everybody else, but you know, when a group has been running for the length of time that the Haven has been running, there comes a point at which you have to acknowledge that there must be something that the members are enjoying and these guys are doing right. Because if you've been operating for 2.5 years plus, and the group is still operating and still thriving and still growing and the community is still the way it is, then something is right. Something is happening that means this service that you are providing is positively received. But it's very difficult because you can't go to Twitter with a rational and logical argument like that, right? They're just like, nah, it's that's impossible. Make it free. Imagine if we made the Haven free, none of you would ever, like the guys that you chat to on a daily basis, you would never see their messages again. There would be so many messages that you would never be able to talk to each other again. The FUD baby sign up. Yeah, and thank you, Harry. Already enjoying it a lot. Good. Glad to hear. Yeah, it's, as I said, it's a really difficult one. We tend to, as a whole, just ignore it because there are certain periods of crypto Twitter in which everybody gets really worked up about something. You know, but actually it was very pleasing to see, you know, the types of people that kind of put their words in, members as well. You know, and then some of the big Twitter accounts as well who kind of, you know, dropped a message in there and a response, and that was really cool to see. So it was, from our perspective, yeah, super pleasing. Thank you to the members for doing that as well. It was kind of you to step to our defense, so we appreciate it. When I joined today and chatted already with some of the big guys, even got props for the hook chart. Yeah, it is a good chart. We're looking at it now. It's a good chart. Let's look at it. Let's put you in the limelight here. It's a really good looking chart. Just because the cleanliness of it, it's the one thing I like the most from this. You know, pullbacks into the 150s, that 10% region again. That seems to be the running theme of today's stream. Is a really interesting region. 4 hour is going to reset if we get back down there. It's a really nice looking chart overall, you know. Good zone here as well, you know, bit of weakness now in terms of this cluster. Just looking to get that pullback here and then setting sights on 190s. Really nice looking chart. Yeah, sushi doing sushi things. Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. It knows I want to buy down there. That's why. So it's like, nah, forget about that. We'll just run it here. Yeah, shallow dip season. Make it accessible through the Haven NFT. Yeah. The NFT entry system. Alright, let's wrap up there. I'm going to go get some downtime away from the charts for a little bit. Yeah, we did cover LDO, but only like a little, man. Like, it's pulled back decently on the lower time frames, but it's not something I'm interested in being like a higher time frame buyer for at this point. But it's pulled back nicely on the lower time frames for sure. When you did the 12K to 97K, was that including some of the setups? That was like pretty much all of them. There were a couple of extras that I took, but nothing that eclipsed the gains that those trades made. So yeah, that was pretty much the meat of it. Like shit, like, you know, APT that just ran ridiculous. Yeah, like it was that was the bulk of it. Yeah, got enough to monitor? Yes. Yeah, we do. We got plenty to monitor. All right. Timeline for a retrace, days, a week. All right, we'll do this as last question. I hope it's a week, because that's what I'm away for. Really don't know. It kind of, you know, it comes into the earlier question of like, how do we know what the kind of, you know, the chance of like an aggressive continuation versus a longer pullback are. I think we'll know more once we see the first real sell-off, you know, and correction. I think that we'll see more from there. So when it comes to like the timeline, at this point, I would have thought a couple of days, probably 2 red days is probably going to be enough. If you want to play in the index case as well, then you would be expecting that to happen over the next 48 hours to line up with Tuesday. If you think that indexes maybe pull back a little bit or consolidate before a breakout, then maybe a few days. But I think we're around that time frame now where we should be thinking about what that first dip looks like, and, you know, then trying to move in on it. So, all right. Risk about 500. It expands, Bob. As soon as the account starts growing, then we start sizing up in terms of the risk. But certainly when we're kind of starting out on that path, then yes. So have a wonderful rest of your weekend, everybody. I will see many of you, I'm sure, tomorrow on the Twitch stream. We'll just do all of this again, but I'm gonna have to go through and delete all this, aren't I? Because I don't want people seeing it on Twitch. So I have to do some little cleanup job on this overnight to keep the levels safe. And we'll talk more generically tomorrow. So everything you've heard tonight is the detail. Everything I talk about tomorrow, I'm going to try to keep the detail out of. So I'm just going to be like, yeah, there's a big level down here they're interested in buying, and, you know, and try and keep it as top level as possible. So enjoy your Sundays. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for all the questions. Welcome once again to all the new members. And I'll catch